Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions and prospects are coming up in the single market program.
Hello, I am Pavel Koktishev. You're watching the Single Market Program. People will always travel despite any economical changes. Restless urge for change of place and searching for new impressions motivates us throughout our lives. But at the same time, we have to consider our capabilities. In this case, we usually enter a tourist path near us, Oksana Trofimova, to follow with the prospects of the Kazakh-Russian tourism. When two countries have a common history, one of the world's longest frontiers, partnership under the economic integration, these countries will use every single chance to make their neighborhood and partnership pleasant in all respects, including for the benefit of their population. Tourism is the field of activity that is the most suitable for it. This evaluation can be explained by the ability of the tourism industry to have a multiplier effect. Circle of this field of activity includes all modes of transport: air, railroad and motor transports, hotel business, catering companies, cultural and recreational facilities, etc. Due to the close location, it is very difficult to precisely calculate the tourist flows from Russia to Kazakhstan and back. According to the experts, this situation is explained by a high frequency of travel under the business trips, shopping tours, and visits to relatives. Flow of the Kazakhstani residents is much higher. We just cannot track it, as we have no tools. But I believe this issue can be resolved. In the nearest future, we are trying to introduce the standards applicable worldwide. As shown by the monitoring of the Russian checkpoints, about 4 million Kazakhs cross the border on an annual basis, and more than 3 million Russians enter Kazakhstan every year. That's why the tourism market tone is set by the boundary regions, which cover up to 70% of the total number of trips. The largest flow of tourists to Kazakhstan is noticed in the summertime. More than 95% of the demand is covered by the cities of Western Siberia and the Urals. I mean, Omsk, Tyumen, Kurgan, Yekaterinburg, and Chelyabinsk cities. Borovaya and Astana sets, which include travel, accommodation, and city tours, are the most popular. These sets are so popular that they are sold a month in advance. Borovaya, Zerenda, and Shalkhar are the three top popular places for summer vacation for the population of the Western Siberia and the Urals. Interest of the Russians is supported both by the natural beauty, which harmoniously combines the forest landscapes, mountainous terrains, and lakes, and an opportunity to participate in any sport competitions, the Chuchensk Regatta, for example. We were here last year. We took part in the wind-driven regatta. We finished first and took gold medals. Of course, we arrived this year too, as they've arranged all the conditions for competitors. We want to come here again and again. Recently, event tourism is becoming one of the leading motivations for attracting the Russians to Kazakhstan. This approach is most often used by the city of Almaty. They arrange various special events and festivals. When such an event is held in the city, distinguished for the beautiful nature and bright colors, Almaty leaves a lot of pleasant impressions in the memory of the tourist. We need to work on creating a sequence of events. I mean, such events that will attract guests. By the way, the Winter Universiade 2017 is the nearest event where the city of Almaty will start its tourist season in 2017. Perhaps due to the great sports holiday, in the future the southern metropolis will become a center of attraction for the Russian fans of winter recreation. Khorgos International Center of Boundary Cooperation, based on the China-Kazakh border, can be referred to the new facilities, which can attract tourists from the Eurasian Economic Union. This center is a kind of embodiment of mini-city, which has everything from shopping and recreation, shops, hotels, banks, restaurants and cafes, and business centers. They have arranged all conditions for the business tourism for the countries of the Eurasian integration, including Russia. Meetings held in the Khorgos International Center of Boundary Cooperation, visa-free entry in these factors allows increasing the number of delegations, reducing the travel expenses. You know, this field of activity has a great future. Inflow of the Russian tourists to the city of Astana is noted by the Kazakh experts of the field-specific market. These visitors come here not only for business purposes. The Kazakh capital city attracts Russian guests with an extent of its growth, modern architecture, outstanding sports and cultural events, including with the right to be called the first city of the Eurasian Economic Union, where the international exhibition Expo will be held. Regional tour operators are very interested in developing long and mutually beneficial relations with the Kazakh colleagues. We would recommend to all our tourist communities to visit and take part in the upcoming exhibition, Astana Expo 2017. Expo has already been called as the biggest event of the 2017 tourist season in Kazakhstan. The city has developed a great program especially for the exhibition. This program considered all the nuances related to the recreation of a large tourist inflow. Russian experts believe that such significant events in 2017 as Expo and Unresticted can give an impetus to developing Kazakh tourism. Therefore, we have to contribute some efforts to achieve it. For example, inflow of the foreign tourists to Sochi has significantly increased after the Winter Olympic Games. Russia has done all things possible to make the constructed infrastructure of the city quickly transform to the popular recreational facilities. Besides, Sochi has positioned itself as a center of event tourism as sports and cultural events are held there. Astana also has a great chance to become a landmark city on the Central Asian tourist map. Quite recently, a young Kazakh capital city was awarded a special nomination, City of the Future, under the annual international competition arranged by the National Geographic Traveler Awards. This is another good motivation for the Russians to visit Astana to see the places of interest of the Kazakh capital city and to find the signs that would say that it is really a city of the future. Oksana Trofimova, especially for the program's single market. In November 2016, Kazakhstan ratified the Paris Climate Agreement. Let me remind you, this agreement itself was accepted in the French capital city in December 2015. According to the results of the 21st conference of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, 196 countries have agreed to prohibit an increase in average global temperature by more than 2 degrees Celsius until year 2100. Our contributor, Alexander Galiev, was analyzing how this status quo will be complied and how this agreement will affect the Kazakh economy and our partners in the EAEC. So until 2020, under the Paris Agreement, the developing countries may rely on the investments to resolve the climate change-related problems. The amount of these funds is quite impressive. It is $100 billion. Another point that must be noted is that countries that have signed this agreement commit themselves to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Now let's find out how's the situation with the greenhouse gas emissions in the countries of the Eurasian Economic Integration. Russia. A portion of Russia is 4% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. It means about 3.5 billion tons. At the same time, 1/3 part of the greenhouse gases is absorbed by the forest so abundant in Russia. Arrangement of the carbon-free zone in the eastern Siberia by 2050 is another long-term prospect. This project will be implemented by the switching to the renewable energy sources, increasing of the energy production of the hydroelectric power stations, and inspiring the business communities to use clean energy. Compared to the results of 1990 taken as a reference point for the post-Soviet countries, by 2030, Belarus is planning to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 28%. This program is based on strengthening a role of the renewable energy sources, introduction of the low-carbon and carbon-free technologies. Kazakhstan. Our country has announced 2 potential plans to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. The absolute goal is to reduce by 15%. This target can be increased up to 25% if Kazakhstan gets the additional financial support. Today, Kazakhstan is practicing construction of the solar and wind power plants in different regions. Kazakhstan is developing a cluster of the renewable energy sources in the southern part of the country. As a conclusion, ratification of the Paris Agreement has a positive effect for the EAEC countries, including Kazakhstan, not only in terms of the environmental improvement. Intention to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions will motivate to implement the innovation technologies, first of all in the energy industry, housing and utilities sector, and farming industry. In this case, the international financial institutions will grant unrestricted access to all these projects. This means an additional inflow of foreign investments. That's all I have for today. See you in the next Single Market. Production of the electrical products is one of the most important segments of the Kazakh machine building industry. This assessment is explained by the level of development of the power generating sector in the country and high demand for products from the large national companies. At the same time, this industrial production has a potential for export. Oleg Boldarev was finding out how such Kazakhstani companies is working in the competitive market of the Eurasian integration. Energy. We definitely know where it lives, though we've never seen it. If such comparison is acceptable, then common distribution substation or substations may be called as a home for the energy. Energy is passing to the accommodations and industrial facilities through the high voltage and power cables. Cable is considered as the most vulnerable link in this chain, as most of the time, a cable is the reason of a power outage. Therefore, quality of cable affects on many factors. Three Kazakhstani companies may be called as the leading manufacturers of the cabling and wire products countrywide. Two of them are based in Taldykorgan and Shymkent cities. Production facilities of the third company, Kaz and Negro Cable, are based in the Pavlodar region. This company has developed and transformed from a small shop to the machine-building giant for 22 years of its operation. Company structure consists of two main workshops, the main production shop where we are now and the aluminum wire rod production workshop. Today, this company produces more than 100 kinds of products, including the structured, power, and instrument cables. This company has mastered production of the aluminum wire rod just relatively recently, 6 years ago. Production of the aluminum wire rod, as like production of cabling and wire products as a whole, consists of three main stages. The first of these stages is called drawing. This process means the production of wire rod of the desired diameter for various types of cable. The following process is the twisting process. You can see this process behind me. And the molding process is ongoing if the cable must be insulated. Twisting is the next stage after molding. It is required to obtain a larger cross-section of the cable. Due to these processes, proportion of the local content in some products of Kaz and Negro Cable Company reaches 100%. We receive the raw material, metal, from the Jibek city and the Kazakh Mus company. This company supplies a copper wire rod. Kazakhstan electrolytic plant is supplying the aluminum ingots. Large national companies such as Kazakh Mus, Kazakh Telecom, and Kaztrans Oil are the major consumers of this plant. By the way, Kegok company is using the AS brand wire in the facilities of the infrastructure North-South Energy Project. Process of this plant is based on the innovation European equipment. This equipment made the production of cables and wires more efficient. Equipment stock of the company is upgraded on a regular basis. It implements and introduces the new production lines. Here you can see the equipment manufactured by the Nifox company. It allows us to produce a wire of the 5th flexibility category that is unique to the Republic of Kazakhstan. Today, competition between the local and Russian manufacturers has intensified at the Kazakh market. Especially, Rusal company enjoyed advantages of the price difference between the Russian ruble and Kazakh tenge to attract the domestic Russian and foreign consumers and Uzbek consumers. Kaz and Negro Cable Company is exporting its products to these very countries. To stay competitive, this company offers to implement a series of the crisis response measures within the country. These measures include as follows: reduction of the working capital amount, arrangement of supply of the raw materials and other materials on the deferred payment terms, and increase in the amount of the credit limits for the manufacturers. Oleg Boldarev, Bakhidjan Bakhriev, especially for the Single Market Program. That's all for today. I am Pavel Koktashev. Let me remind you that you can find all our stories at www.kazakh-tv.kz.